All right, guys, we are live with Scratchin and Surviving. If you're watching, more than likely you survived week one, so congratulations. Let's jump in now to week two. All right, guys, week two. And if you did not watch week one and you are still alive in your survivor pool, I strongly suggest going back, watching that video in YouTube or over on the Sharp app, inside the Sharp app. If you do not download the Sharp app yet, strongly suggest doing that as well. You're going to get these shows. There's a lot of other great content. I give out a free bet every single day that's been absolutely on fire. Plus, if you download the Sharp app, and then head over to sharpbets.app and use code Statsational, you'll get 1 month free of sharpbets.app, and that's where you get all of the coaches' picks and models. So head on over to sharpbets.app after you download the app. Check that all out. It's free. We've got the Discord as well, which you're going to want to check out. That is free, but once you get that sharpbets.app membership, you'll get the Discord VIP. You get access to the coaches, our picks, all that good stuff. So highly suggest it. The guys were absolute fire last week. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I think plus 30 units, though, on the weekend, which if you're $100 better, that's a $3,000 weekend. Can't beat that. So let's get into now what we're talking about for week two. Again, head over to the first video and you'll get a better idea of what we're talking about here for week two. But I'm going to bring up my spreadsheet that I did here. And for those that watch week one, you're going to understand this a little bit better. But part of the spreadsheet is future weight. Part of it is just how great a chance these teams have to win this week. Okay. And I'm getting this information. Now, where am I getting the money line information? That's directly inside the Sharp app. You're going to want to take the favorite, take their line, and then take the underdog line, the money line, that is. All right. Add those up, divide by 2. That's going to be like a midpoint on the line. You do that with the best odds. We've got inside the Sharp app, you're going to see the best odds, which books offer the best odds. What we're looking for is really the implied odds here. What is the probability this team wins? So the reason I'm taking that midpoint is it eliminates the juice, because let's say Tampa here in this situation, in reality has about an 85.9% chance to win this game based on the model or the Vegas odds or the offshore odds, or in our cases, the odds in your state that are now legal. We don't have to look at just Las Vegas. So if you just took the money line as is, it would show a higher probability of them winning this game because there's juice involved. If you don't understand that all, again, you can check out inside the app and here on YouTube, the Sharp Academy, where I talk about all that kind of stuff. So let's dive into the spreadsheet a little bit. Let's look at what we're looking at. And again, I'm using some data from survivorgrid.com. I strongly suggest checking that website out. It's really good for survivor pools. But what I did firstly was for the money lines, again, I just added them all in myself. Then I calculate what the win probability is going to be. The future value, that's FV here. Future value, the lower the number, the more valuable that team is in the future. How do we calculate that? It's really going to be based on what the potential future spreads are going to be. I talked about this now in the previous video. Depending on the type of pool you're in, the amount of entries you have, the number of entries that are in the pool, the rules, if this is a pool where you have to make multiple picks, and it's a large number of people in the pool, you're going to want to weight future value a lot greater than maybe you weight the actual line on this week's games. Reason being, if you just took, let's say, Tampa last week, or let's say you took Kansas City last week, that's a team that you're going to likely want to take at a future date. They have a lot of future value. If you look here on the list, Kansas City's got a 64 future value. They are the highest future value, the lowest number, meaning the best of all the future values. We've got Tampa 77. Again, they would be a very good team in the future. If we're taking them this week, we eliminate the chance of taking them in the future. If you're in a pool with a small amount of people and you can, and you have one entry, let's say, you could play very chalky with a small amount of people. If it's a very standard league, we're not making multiple picks. But if you're in a pool like I am, this one here that I actually plugged in the numbers has about 5,000 entries left. I've got about 50 left. I lost 15 entries of my 65 last week. And we're going to be making double picks along the way in this one. So I'm weighting it at 75%, and I'm probably going to be putting in 5 or 6 total picks. And this spreadsheet is going to tell me how many I should be taking of each team. So you'll see now, let's weight this down. Let's just assume, I know most of you are probably in a pretty vanilla type of pool. You're in pools with not a lot of entries. So let's just go down to that. I mean, if we weight this at 0, then it becomes really obvious. When you weight it at 0, and let's say we just have one entry, we're just going to take the team that's got the best chance of winning, and that's Tampa, right? If we weight this at 0, future weight. I would never put it totally at 0. Depending on how many people you have in your pool, I'm going to weight this, let's say 25 if I was in a 100-person pool and I had one entry. In that case, Cleveland looks like the best bet. Now, this pick percentage number, 21%, 33.7, that's coming from Survivor Grid. They're really important numbers here, and they are going to change as the week goes on. So we're doing this on a Wednesday. Perhaps by the time Sunday comes around, you're going to see some movement here and a change in necessarily what the percentages are. But to start it out on Wednesday, this gives us a pretty good idea. So 33.7%, they're likely going to be the highest owned team. Makes a lot of sense, right? Huge favorite. They've got an 84% chance to win. And we've got a moderate type of future value number on them where they're not going to be nearly as strong as Tampa in the future. They're going to be moderately strong team. This would be a good week to take Cleveland if you had one entry. That's going to be the chalky pick. Last week, we said the Rams were sort of that pick. Also last week, as I said, the lines are going to change, not just the pick percentages, but the lines are going to change. So it's important, if you're following in Discord, get over into our free Discord. I'll usually make an update in the NFL room in our free Discord over for Sharp app. And I updated last week. The Carolina line came down. Now, my diligence did not help because the Carolina game came down, the line came down, and they still won the game. So I actually, in a lot of my pools, I would have lost 14 out of my 65 had I originally stuck with what I originally had. I wound up adding one more loser to the mix. I believe a Patriots pick, which wound up being a loser. That was a tough one. And but you really do want to be diligent with where the point spreads move and where the money lines move as the week goes on. I know you guys don't have access to this spreadsheet, and it's really just a guide. You don't have to be strict to the spreadsheet. But when Saturday, Sunday rolls around, go back to this video, and you'll just get an idea of where these numbers are, and then just change them in your head. If the Seattle game goes up to the point where they're minus 250, you'll get an idea in your head where you need to be and how many entries you need to be. So again, most of you have one entry. If you have one entry and it's a 25% type of future value, which I think is a good number to be at for a 100-person type of pool, you're going to probably want to take Cleveland. And really what's interesting is how the market sort of intuitively, I don't think a lot of people are creating spreadsheets. A lot of you are just kind of intuitively making the picks. And I would imagine, just based on these numbers, a good percentage of you thought Cleveland would be the best pick. And that's really not a bad idea. Now, again, we talk about game theory when we're doing these Survivor pools. If you're in a 100-person pool, you have one entry, you should have a 1% chance. Now, if you're going to be a little bit sharper, which you obviously are by even taking the time to watch a video like this, you probably can up yourself to about 1.5%, 2%. Still, you're only going to win that pool 1 out of every 50 years at best, right? So these aren't easy to win. That's why I like to have multiple picks in a pool like that. If I could get 5 picks in a 100-person pool, then maybe I'm going to win that one once every, 10 or 20 years. Makes it a lot better, gives us a lot better chance, obviously, of winning. That's how I kind of played DFS. I don't like to shoot one single entry into 150 max entry DFS game. I like to just throw the 150 in there and be able to diversify a bit. Now, speaking about diversifying, The other thing you need to look at, if you are playing multiple picks, let's jump into my scenario here. I've been playing at 50. I've got 50 left, and I played week one at a 75% future value because it's a large pool, and there's going to be weeks where I need to make multiple picks, right? So because of that, if we take 6 picks here, you see Washington pops up. Now, not a strong play. They're only a 60% favorite. We're going to win this one, hopefully 60% of the time, which is not a huge number, but it's a team that we're not likely to take in the future. So I'm going to probably want to sprinkle a few of these Washingtons in on a pool like this because of the future value. I'm going to probably go with a mix. This is probably going to look right now, the mix that I'm going to have: 7 Tampas, 13 Clevelands, 14 Green Bays, 6 New England, and 5 Pittsburgh. Now that in my pool, at least, I have a ton of entries in that particular pool, and I'm in other pools, so it gets a little complicated. How am I going to allocate that? How am I going to know which team do I put with which team that I took last week? There's a few different ways you can do it, and it's the same idea, mentality in DFS. I stick with what I do in DFS, which is I try to be very diverse in my lineups. I know some really sharp people who do the opposite. They don't want to be diverse. They really limit the amount of diversity they have, and in which case, when they're right, they're going to flood the top, let's say, 100 of a big GPP. But when they're wrong, of course, the opposite's going to happen. They're not going to cash anything at all. I play diverse. I'm looking for one bullet to hit and win that big GPP. Just like here, I'm going to diversify and look for that one bullet to win and that one line that's going to come in, and I'm going to be able to win a survivor pool like this. So what I'm going to want to do is, if I took, let's say, 10 Carolinas last week, I don't want to match that up with 10 Clevelands, right? I'm going to diversify that. I'm going to take, if we just took 6 teams, I'd probably just evenly maybe put, 2 Clevelands and 2 Green Bays, something like that, and then take the Tampa, New England, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. Kind of not Buffalo, Washington. Just diversify them, and I think that's the best way to go about it, because you're going to, as the survivor pools go on, you wind up getting yourself backed into a corner. I mean, it's just the nature of the pool where you're limited in your options. And the whole reason of having multiple entries is to not limit yourself, is to have a lot of different variety and some options going forward. Hopefully we could keep these pools and we could keep your entries going to the point where we can make different picks, and we're going to have some strong teams left. We're going to have some weak teams left, just like we're going to take some strong teams here early and some weak teams early in order to keep that diversity, and in the big pools, of course, give us a better chance of winning. So this week, my suggestions are going to be, if you're in a pool where you need to play chalk, the chalk is Cleveland, stick with Cleveland, and they should win that game and move on. If you're in a pool where you're going to need to be a little bit more diverse, maybe you have one entry. Let's talk about the person who has one entry in a pool. Let's say you have one entry in a 500 person that's left pool, and you have multiple entries left. You might want to go up to the 100 here, in which case Green Bay is going to be your team. And I like that pick. I like what the spreadsheet's giving me here, because there's only right now 16% on Green Bay. Now, you have to hope that Aaron Rodgers, that was a kind of a one-off game last week. Detroit, not that strong a team. Green Bay should be able to win that game. We got them at 82.5% probability to win. So I like that in a pool where you only have one bullet in a pool with a lot of entries in it. Okay. Again, if we have one in a 50 and it's a pretty standard pool, I'm going to come down to about 25, and I'm probably going to take the chalky pick of Houston. Now, if I'm in a really, really small pool with not, just my closest friends and family, maybe I just go ahead and take Tampa here, because the likelihood of that pool going very long is limited. So that's my take here for this week. Go back, watch this again come Sunday. Get the Discord channel as well, because that's going to be key. As lines move and as I see the pick percentages move, I'm going to be, maybe making some amendments here to what I'm doing on these weekly videos. But hopefully that gives you guys a good idea of what we're looking at and where you need to be in your survivor pools. Let's win again next week so you guys could be back with me this week. No matter if I win or lose, I got to be here. So I hope you guys are with me. Again, download the Sharp app and check out sharpbets.app. Free Statsational is the code you need to use. Free Statsational. You'll get a free month on us just for downloading the app. Use the same email because eventually we're going to be tying those all in. There's going to be a lot of VIP content on the app as well. Again, appreciate you guys joining me. I'll see you all next week, next Wednesday, for some more Scratchin' and Survivin'.